Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. Well, today on the channel we're going to go through part 2 on the uses for your drill press table. So today we're going to go through drilling repetitive multiple holes in flat circular objects. Say for instance this disc. I've marked this disc into 6 equal portions. You might want to do it into 10 equal portions, or 12, or 8. Or you might just want to drill a hole in the centre. Today I'm going to show you how to do that repetitively so you get the same spot every time. Also, I'm going to show you how to do some angled legs in a disc like this, like for a stool leg. A simple, quick, easy way of doing it. So you don't even have to alter your drill press table angle at all. Alright, let's get into it and I'll show you how I do it. Alright, so I'm going to show the simple way I'll start off this. Firstly, I'll mark out the portions that I want to be drilled. So in this case, I want to do 6 equal hole spacings. So I might show you how to do a hole 10mm in from the edge and 30mm in for the edge, say for instance. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do that now. So one of the first things I do is the offcut that I use, that I take off the disc when I first cut it in the first place. I use that to hold my disc like this. It's nice and firm. Sometimes you might have to sand that a little bit just to get it so it holds it nice and tight. You definitely have to, once you've cut it out, you definitely have to sand that outer edge so it's nice and smooth and circular. So I've marked my 6 points here, and I'll mark out 10mm from the edge and 30mm from the edge, and then we'll set it up and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so I've marked my 10mm mark, my 30mm mark, and I've actually marked another one, a 50mm mark. So what I do next is I put, let's call it the cradle, against the fence, so that holds my disc nice and firm, so it doesn't flop from side to side. Like I say, this is for repetitive drilling. So if it was just a one-off, you might be able to go through and mark the whole lot and just drill them without that. You could probably just go bang, bang, bang and drill them all the way around by eye. But if you want them exactly in the same spot every time on, say, 3 or 4 of these discs, or 10 or 20 or 100 even, like I said, if you wanted to drill a hole in the centre there all the time and do 30 wheels, exactly the right spot, we can set this up so it does it straight up so you don't waste any time doing that. So the first thing we do is set this up, and we bring it out. I put a little bit of a block on top here first, just like this, because I'm going to clamp it from the side in a minute. You'll see what I mean. So this just holds a bit of downward pressure on the cradle as such. So I bring that over. Now I'm going to bring that down to my 10mm mark. Now regardless of where, there we go, I'm just lining the point of the drill bit up with my 10mm mark. So it's lined up now, and then I'm going to take a pencil. There's a couple of marks around the back there. I might get a bit of masking tape, I think. That gives you a nice bright background to identify with. We put that there. Okay, so once I've lined that up, before I even clamp it down, I put my pencil mark there, because these are my indexing lines. You might be able to see them. I hope you can. Oh, you can see them good. So I line that indexing mark up with that after I've lined the point of my drill bit up with my centre of my 10mm mark. Then the next thing I do, I'm going to clamp that from the side. I've got a little simple clamping setup that just holds that piece of plywood down. I'll just grab a clamp and clamp that down. Okay, the other thing I have to do, and I neglected to say, is you have to clamp the fence again, so the fence doesn't move. That's this fence behind here. You have to clamp the end of it so it doesn't move. With the other end's the pivot end, so this is the fixed end. Then it just remains to drill the holes, basically. So we'll do the 10mm run first. And like I said, that lines up, the point of that drill bit lines up perfect with the 10mm run. So let's go through and do them. I'll just drill them in so far, not very far at all. So there we have it, we have 6 indexed holes. I'll switch that off again now. Now let's move on to our next mark. Let's try to, here's my next mark. So undo the fence clamp. I'll just have to undo that other clamp too that's holding the side of that. Rightio, so we move it back so we can line up the 30mm mark. Now we don't have to worry about that indexing mark because we're going to do a new indexing mark. Okay, there we are, right. Yeah, that looks like it right there. So we clamp that fence off. Clamp your fence off. Yeah, that's the right mark. I'll just clamp that clamping board back down. Alright, we're right to go. So we're on that mark, so let's do this. Right, before we do any more, I nearly forgot. We have to make a new mark. Scribble out that old one. Make a new mark because we've moved our fence back. Because our fence is on an angle, we have to make a new mark. There we go. Right, that one's done. Right, now we're going to line up that 50mm mark. That's the same as before. Just clean that drill bit off so I can see the point. Okay, I'm going to move it out. Yeah, that's the beauty of the angled fence, is you can adjust it quickly. I know square ones that run square are adjustable quickly too, but this is a simple setup that somebody can make in their back shed. If you look at the previous video of the construction of it, you'll understand how easy it is to make, simple to make, and so forth. So we're lined up with that mark there. So I'm going to take my pencil and put a corresponding new indexing mark. Scrub out the old ones or replace the tape. If you watched the last video, I explained that in depth. Alright, so this is our last set of holes, so I'll go through and drill them now. That's our mark over there, the corresponding mark that we're lining up there now. Alright, there we have it. We've done 6 holes. I mean, we've actually done 18 holes in that short amount of time, and they're all in line and line up and so forth, and they're indexed out. You could do 5 divided into 5, you could divide it into 6, you can divide it into 8, you can divide it into 4, you can divide it into 12. You could even make an indexing block up. Now the other way to do the centres too, I'll show you quickly how to do that. All we have to do is move our fence back again, slide this one a bit sideways this time. I didn't actually put the clamping block on that time, just shows you how much you don't need that. Right, so just say for instance we want to drill a hole in the centre. Every time we've got that in the position, we clamp our fence off. I'll just clamp the fence off now. And if you had multiple discs this size, and you want to do centre holes every time, you clamp this board off, bring it down, and there you go. Bang, straight through the middle every time. You could do multiple discs in the form of wheels, rollers, handles, anything circular like that. That's a quick, easy way to do. You might want to do some wagon wheels, and you might want to put a Forstner bit through between the spokes to take out the bulk so you can scroll saw the rest out. Little things like that. It's entirely up to you, but you can do it quite easily with this sliding fence, the tilting, how it goes on an angle, and then also the semicircle of a jig to hold it. So let's move on now to a simple way of drilling angular holes, and this is just a simple basic way of drilling angular holes, in a circular object, being this disc. Okay, so like a stool leg, so I'm going to swap over to a 1/2 inch bit now because I've got some 1/2 inch dowel, and I'll show you how we're going to put 4 make-believe legs in that and how simple that is to be. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is work out the angle I want my leg. Say if this is the angle I want my leg. Now this eliminates having to tilt the table like that and get it exactly right, perfect, 100% spot on. What it does, it eliminates that. So what we've got to do now, and I've found a little shim that goes in the back here. So I found a little block of wood that goes in there. So when I put that in underneath there, and I take my sliding bevel, and I put it down on that sliding bevel, and then I sight from the side and make it parallel with my drill bit. So I've made it parallel. That's pretty well spot on. There's only a fraction in it, but it's really good enough for what I want. This is just a quick way of doing it, an angle. So before I go any further, I put a pencil mark. If I can find my pencil. Do you have that problem at your workshop where you can't find your pencil? Here it is. I need to invent one of those things where you whistle and your pencil comes. Alright, I'll whistle's back here. Right here. So I put a mark so I know the backing board's not going to move. I take that out of there. I just take a bit of masking tape and I'm going to put that over that block because I don't want that to move now. And I'll put a pencil mark on it too, just to be on the safe side, because that gives me my angle. Masking tape. Now you can do this for a dozen of these if you wanted to, and if you do it right, it comes out right. Okay, now the next thing I need to do is line up the point of my bit here with the point of that. I tried to keep the axis lining up with the square mark on my board, okay? Close as I can to it anyhow. So I bring my bit down and I line it up to the position I want it in. So I've done that. I clamp my fence off at that point. Clamp it off at that point so it doesn't move. Then I take a block and I'm going to put that there. Hopefully this block's big enough. The clamp's just reaching too. Hang on, I'm going to do my clamp up. This is just a bit of support, but also it helps index. 1 second, I'm going to clamp that off. That's part of the offcut from that circle. So it gets used twice. There you go. So that's just that there. Rightio, so I'll line it up again because I've moved it, mucking around. Bring it down, it's dead in line. Take my pencil, I'll put a mark just there. That's my index mark for this particular job. Rightio. Then I start my drill press and I drill away. So I'm going to drill them probably a little bit over the depth of that. So I might bring that down and set my depth gauge just to be on the safe side. Okay, I've set my depth gauge. So I'm indexed in, I'm lined up with my mark. Now all that remains is to drill the hole. Or drill the 4 holes. I'm using a Forstner bit here. There we go, 1 hole. Blow it off, move it around, index it around. Bring it down, hang on, that's not right. I can tell you now, that's not right. The marks must be a bit out. Anyhow. Move it around, line up my indexing mark. Try not to let your base flex. I'll let mine just flex a little bit then, which is not a good thing. You can knock the angle around a bit. Rightio. Line up your mark. There we go. Well, let it flex again, which is not a good thing. Alright. The closer you can get your support to the back there is, the better. So there we have our 4 holes. Once I've cut them down, what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so there we have our little make-believe stool with our angle legs. There you go, there's the angle on the legs. And there it is sitting down. I'll just shift that clamp so I can get a better, clearer look at it. There it is there. Zoom out a bit so you can get a better look at it. There you go. And that was simple. You just drill their holes and indexed it with the 4 spots. One of my marks was a little bit out on that. So my original mark wasn't 100% square. I don't know why. But nevertheless, it turned out really good. So that's our little stool, but you can do a larger scale of that. And you can get a steeper angle. Like I said, I probably should have gone back closer to the fence back here with this block. I should have cut a semicircular one with a flat side on it. You do need a flat side on the front edge, and it has to be pretty well square with your centre line to keep the angles exactly the same. So I probably should have cut something so it went closer to the fence, not as far away as I had. That would have eliminated the board tilting as I drilled. So just bear that in mind. Alright, I hope you liked that today with the drilling repetitive holes in flat circular objects. Hope you like a little stool, but you could do something like that on a bigger scale. You could do like a little milkman stool if you wanted to, with fatter legs, and make yourself a nice little handy little stool up. You could possibly even do the holes in a rustic rough sawn piece of timber, or even a piece of log, and then turn up some legs on your lathe and put them in on the angle like that. That's one of the ways to drill the holes. The other way is to tilt your table, and then you have to have some sort of support. Sometimes you get a little bit of deflection in your drill bit when you start going steeper, but the Forstner bit is good in that sense. It starts cutting the outer ring first, which is quite good. Alright, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like and subscribe. Would appreciate that. I'm only new at this YouTube thing, and obviously the more subscribers I can get, the better, and it helps the channel. Too right it does. So thanks for that, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.